Hello, how's it going, everybody? And welcome to the afternoon. I'm your host, Josh, and I got another interview ready for you people today. And I'm with the amazing Julie. How's it going there, Julie?
Good.
Uh, so, as we were talking about before, funny thing kind of happened. I was looking for another Julie Cervantes. I messaged her on IG thinking that she was an animator from a movie, but turns out she was an artist, was based out of Waco. But hey, funny enough, I just said, hey, do you want to do an interview anyway? Like you really your art. And she also was on a reality show called Public Artists, where she was on her and three other contestants, was it?
Correct.
Yeah, so it was kind of like showing off a lot of local Waco artists there. So I was like, why not? I mean, Waco is not too far from me, only like an hour and a half away. And we were just also talking a little bit about before this about maybe I'm making my way up there to see it in person. So Julie, just introduce yourself. What kind of all about your art and who you are and everything like that to audience there.
Well, I'm Julie Cervantes. I've been in Texas this will be my 18th year, and been in Waco the entire time. And my art, I didn't really get to start doing until about 7 years ago. And I delved right into it. I had all the time, and I think I remember in a matter of 3 years, I completed 500 pieces. And when I say pieces, they were ginormous. Fell into an art show run by the amazing Fiona Bond. She's with Creative Waco. We're so lucky to have her. She's from England, and she helped redo the arts in Scotland. And we got lucky because we got her, and she's been changing the art scene here. I remember not too long ago, I would say at least 5-6 years ago, there was virtually no art. There's a smattering here and there, and now we're becoming a wonderful art mecca. And we have, I think in past, let's say 20 plus murals popping up all around town, and so many people are investing in it. And I just get to be lucky to be part of the hub and one of the starters in the big fun wave.
Okay, very nice. So I'm very new to Texas. I moved here about 7-8 months ago from Chicago. Came down there in Austin. Thank you. I'm thinking about going back. I don't like this heat, triple digits. It's crazy, right?
Nope.
It is ridiculous. But so, do you think so? What do you attribute? So you attribute a lot of that kind of growing change in Waco to a lot of kind of people, more influx of people kind of coming to Waco. You mentioned the woman named Fiona trying to then, of course, there's people like you kind of popping up. That's creating the burgeoning art scene there. Are a lot of people coming there because of just, you think, mostly the cost of living in other areas of Texas? It's probably relatively cheaper in Waco. You think that's also helps it?
There's multiple factors. Waco is always an upstart. Actually, at one point, is it the 50s? Waco was supposed to be the Austin. We were the up and coming until the tornado hit. And after the tornado hit, and just reconstruction was not very successful, it all trickled down to Austin. And it was fits and starts for the longest time. And then finally, things started to help bring it up. The city was doing better on its own. It started growing. Of course, we have Chip and Joanna for the TV show and the network, Magnolia Network. And they really helped bring attention to it. And now more people are investing in it. But we've always had like good city council. Lots of people already invested in the arts. And then we got Creative Waco, who's doing a lot of work. And now more people are moving. It was because of the cost of living, but it's starting to get a little pricey now. And then good schools. We got some good schools around, and it's easy. We don't have Dallas or Austin traffic. So it's 5.5 minutes to get to my job. And that's a bonus. So less time in traffic and more time for fun things like art.
Okay. And what do you do for work full time? What do you do?
Full time, I've been a Spanish. I wasn't a Spanish and art teacher, but I've been teaching Spanish for 18 years at the same school, which is perfect because get time with my own kids, and then the summer's off and gives me evenings off to just be outs and abouts with all the amazing people. Because you wouldn't think of it, but Waco's got such an amazing, eclectic amount of people. We've got wonderful artists. I keep falling accidentally into these things. Like I got to feature in a couple short films, and that's because we had some LA directors and producers during the pandemic with all the shutdowns and the restrictions. They saw our film festivals here and they were attracted, and now they're trying to make this the next like Hollywood, and they have a whole studio set up for doing things like that. So we got wonderful people like that around, and yeah.
Very
And
nice.
yeah, no, it's so fun. It feels like when you read about in the early 1900s in Europe and Paris, and you hear about how Pablo Picasso and Salvador Dali and Monet and all these artists, or Monet's after, but all these artists in that roaring time started filtering together and then went off back to their own place, and we had the same amount of energy, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of did a movie. Woody Allen, he kind of did a movie about that. I don't know if you've seen Midnight in Paris, but they did.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. Yeah, all the cameos. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Olsen.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you do the nose thing? Or like trying to remember there? Oh,
Yeah, the
oh,
nose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, the words. They struggle to come to me more and more every day. Owen
um.
Wilson, that's his name.
Yeah. So you mentioned Magnolia Network. I wanted to get into a little bit of the show that you were on, Public Artist, with reality show. I watched it. It's available on multiple platforms. I saw it on Matt's. It's also on Apple TV that you can see it on. You can see Julie there as well as other Waco artists. Well, yeah, you could talk about kind of what you guys did and the whole point. Sure, you can get into that.
Yeah, no, it was a wonderful thing. I was part of the pilot, and uh, what they did is it was the directors and producers. They were from out of California, and they got together with the Magnolia Network, and they said we'd like to do this. And as far as I understand, Magnolia Network said yes, but the first one has to be in Waco, and to feature it. And they did. They just wanted to tell a little bit more of the story, and each artist got to tell a little bit of their story. Vincent got to talk about the farm and growing up, and a little bit about the agriculture. Naomi, and I'm probably simplifying everything that they did. I am simplifying what they did. Naomi, she's new to Waco, but she got to talk about her experience and how welcoming everybody is, because we're in that beautiful, perfect balance. I call it Little Big Town, where we're big, but we're still connected, and everybody's still very welcoming. And then Bradley Settles, he's a fine arts realist artist, so he featured Cameron Park, which is a really large park, forested trail park down in downtown Waco. And then I highlighted more about the history. When it comes to my art, I try to go deep, and I'm a history nerd, and I try to find a lot of symbolism behind my stuff. So I went back and reflected on the lynchings that had occurred in the early 1900s in Waco. There was 3 lynchings off of the Washington Bridge, and Waco was one of those sundown towns. And when I first heard about that, it just, yeah, struck me at the core, and just starting to talk to more people in my community. And that's just not something you hear about. Usually when people hear Waco, they either think of the TV network or they think of the Waco siege. Um,
Yeah.
and Waco's got a lot. It's tried so many times to get up and going, and 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that was one other feature to Waco that I'm really shocked that not too many people know about. But through all of it, they keep trying to strive, and we got amazing, wonderful people making wonderful starts. In the TV show, I get to talk to my friend Rachel Pate, who's the vice president of the African American Chamber of Commerce, and her way with words are just amazing, and she nails it, spot on.
Yeah. 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 So I saw it. The episode that you want. Are there going to be more episodes you know of? Did they talk about anything like that, like doing
As
continuation
far
of
as
it?
I know, I'm not sure. I think they are, but above my pay grade. I did the
Oh, okay.
show, fun, and then went off on to the next fun things.
Okay. So I will say, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, but I thought when I was watching, I was like, well, when they were doing it and then showing off, I thought you were going to win or Vincent was going to win. If I had to personally, because at the end, you guys show off the art that you did, and because you're going to get commissioned to do like the big mural in the town of Waco and be part of this big wall that you're going to put your art on. And then so you all, four of you guys were showing off your paintings, and I thought it was either going to be between you and Vincent, and then the person that won was Bradley.
Mhm.
And then I wish I had wish I could show a photo of it, but yeah, I mean Vincent had, like you said, the heart of the, he talked about like a lot of history of agriculture, which I thought was really nice. Um, and you let me know if this is kind of maybe demeaning a little bit. I don't want to demean, because all of you guys were great artists. But with Naomi, it seemed like her painting, because it was like a bear and then children. It seemed like that'd be great to put in like an elementary school, like more like a school environment. Maybe I don't know if that's demeaning to say, but I thought that maybe fit it a little bit. And then Bradley, he had a photo of leaves and everything like that, and also it showed you guys working all in the same space too, working on your art. Like, how did you feel about that? Like working all in the same space instead of.
Ugh. No, that was difficult because my process, I take forever. I can't keep my focus on anything for. I'm lucky to keep my focus on anything for more than 30 minutes. Like when I paint for a little bit, step away, do something else, and I'm always good about circling back. But painting could take a little bit for me because I can't ever just totally sit still. That's why I have like 5 or 6 things going on at a time. And it was stressful. And I don't watch a lot of reality TV, but what little I have seen, I know, like I see TV shows where if they weren't finished, they're done. They were disqualified. And I was so worried because Vincent and I, at the end of it, of course, all the editing, we weren't done. That wasn't part of our process that we are used to. And the producers were wonderful. They gave us extra time. But yeah, we had, I think it was 4 or 5 hours to create an entire piece right there on the spot. And
Mm.
yeah, and Bradley, he knocked it out of the park. I know he had done something. He has a series similar to that, so that was a little bit easier. And of course, he worked in a different medium, oil. So he was done in like 2 hours, and not so much for me. And I was sweating the whole time, and I was already getting teary. And the producers were good. I love editing. They edited out all the ugly parts.
Oh, right. What medium do you work in? What's your?
I was trained in oil, but now I work in acrylic, and that was mainly because just being on the go all the time and just having kids, and just it's better for my process. Like acrylic, you could just clean with water and step away, and you're fine. Oil, I just even the cleanup is a chore, and I like to add lots of layers. And with oil, you can't do that. It takes, well, in Texas right now, maybe it'll take shorter to dry, but in a regular temperature, it could take a few days for a certain area to dry. Versus acrylic, I just have to wait a little bit and keep adding to it. And I love lots of heavy texture. And if I mess up, I just keep on adding over it. Yeah, I have a very layered effect. So acrylic bodes well for me. Yeah, and it's just so much easier for my constant going personality.
So you said you're a big history nerd. So that's where you draw most of your inspiration from when it comes to your paintings, is just history and historical things like that.
It's eclectic. I was a military brat, so I got to live abroad. So travel super inspires me. I got lucky. My dad got stationed all over the world. We lived in Panama. My mom's from Ecuador, so we got to go back and forth there. A little bit in DC, so we're about around all the museums and just beautiful foliage. And then we got to live in Germany, and then for a time, my dad lived in Korea. So I just got to go to all these wonderful places. Even when I tell people we got to live everywhere. And then we went to Oklahoma. And I joke with people, like I was in high school and we moved to Oklahoma. I really thought kids went to school on horses. But we live in a beautiful mountain area. So travel, I'm constantly trying to travel. That feeds me. History is a big thing, especially given to live in these different places. My family was really good about taking me to actual historical places, and I love to gobble that up. And now just getting to be around people. So all of that just kind of constantly feeds me. And part of the reason why I haven't had a dry spell yet. If anything, I just have too many ideas and just not enough time. I need to be like one of those glittery vampires and not ever have to sleep.
So, where's your exhibit in Waco? Because I know the video that I pulled up here before that you were on. This was for 2 years ago. I saw. So is this still is still working in? This is where you're putting most of your art here.
Yeah, well, that one that's Cultivate 712. It's a wonderful gallery. We have about three galleries down here, and that exhibit stayed up for about I think about 4 or 5 months, and it was wonderful. I got lucky because it was right after the pandemic. People were hungry to get out. It was right in a good in between time before things had to get shut down again, and yeah, we had record breaking sales and record breaking attendance. But that was a couple of years ago. I have artwork in places like lots of wine and coffee bars. I commission a lot of work. But lately, I just been so distracted because I'm in grad school. Sorry,
Oh,
my nervous Nelly dog. um, Grad school, and then my friends and we joined forces and we created Waco's first Day of the Dead parade and festival, and that's been taking my time. Our first year doing that 3 years ago, we had an attendance of 10,000 people, and
wow.
actually, I was planning the first one in the middle of filming that TV show. Um, and we had our second one last year, and we had about the same amount of attendance. And right now, I'm in the throes of doing the third one. So my attention and my creativeness has been diverted more to the parade and festival and grad school and all those things. I've taken a semester off to get back into painting and try to branch out more and hit some more of the Dallas and Austin galleries.
Oh. Are you in grad school for art or is it?
No, silly me. I wanted a challenge, and I'm in grad school for Spanish, Spanish
Oh,
literature.
okay.
Yeah, and that it, again, it continues to feed it. Right now, I'm working on a series. It's a death series, and it's just I'm trying to play with the contrast of flesh and bone and life and death, and trying to show how death is inevitable, and it's something not to be feared, but to be accepted and to be aware of. And it's all kind of played together. I'm doing this series right now with that in my paintings, and then me just leading the Day of the Dead parade. And then grad school, anytime I have to write a paper or essay, I gear it towards Dia de los Muertos or some theme about death to help kind of keep feeding and researching into that. So, yeah, get to read poetry and writers that have already written about it and created this big giant monster of me.
And you got one coming up this October, Day of the Dead. That's coming up, and you're doing that one.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would love to come down there and come visit it and see what you got kind of going on there with that. I've never been to a Day of the Dead festival before,
Ah,
so
yes,
that's
no,
cool.
and well, and parades and festival parades are relatively new, even in history. Um, yeah, yeah, you Spectre, the James Bond movie. Uh,
Yes,
Even that that was that whole opening scene, which is gorgeous. The cinematography and the road tracks on that are so gorgeous. But that was placed in Mexico City. Prior to that filming, there had never been a Day of the Dead parade in Mexico City. It was after that movie, and it was a bit of a jet setting tourism that was set into play there. But the Mexico City had paid the producers $20 million to create that scene, and so I think that was in 2015 that movie came out, and the
I
very
believe
next
so.
year is when they had that big parade and festival. So Dia de los Muertos parades are relatively new for everyone. So other places have had it, but even Mexico City, where you think the heart of it all is, just that's pretty new.
Yeah.
But yeah, come on down. We gave you some VIP passes and our beer garden and have all the fun. And
Nice. I think I should probably. I mean, I should have probably been one already. I know Chicago, where I'm from. I mean, it's a big Latino population there, and they do things for Day of the Dead and things like that. So, yeah, so I would absolutely love to do that. So who are some of your biggest inspirations when it comes to making art? You mentioned like kind of like what's going on in Waco right now is very reminiscent of like the roaring kind of 20s. All these kind of artists kind of getting together. You mentioned some very famous people. Who do you kind of look up to there?
well, everybody and anybody. But if I have to narrow, Frida Kahlo, and who only she had her art in the early 1900s, and she actually helped contribute to the persona of how we see a lot of what we see in Dia de los Muertos with her husband. Um, but and she only recently became famous in the 1990s. But Frida Kahlo, I love her narrative. I love how emotive she is, and that's something I strive to do. Is like that show that we were talking about earlier. I had it was all about emotions and getting to the raw emotions. That it was about a lot of the stuff I had, trials and tribulations I had gone through, and my growth, and how art helped feed my growth. There was also a part of the series that I had done that was about suicide, and I had lots of friends and family that unfortunately had passed away because of suicide. And Frida Kahlo constantly was dealing with emotions and the raw feelings, but still also showing part of her culture through it in vibrant colors. But I even got to go to tour her home a couple years ago, and yeah, she's a big inspiration. But there's so many the surrealist artists, and just being able to live in this dream world and create it on canvas. Those ones really hit home.
Yeah. Did she kind of burst in popularity? You said in 1990s because Salma Hayek played her in the movie, correct?
Yeah, oh, and Salma Hayek did a beautiful job with that. She was starting to get popular, I believe, before that, but that really helped make it more mainstream. I'm trying to remember when that Frida came out, but yeah, uh,
Um, I'm trying to think. Too. I think it was maybe was it 90? Oh, I'm thinking the 90s. It was 2002 that the Frida
okay,
movie.
yeah.
Okay.
So it was starting to trickle, and yeah, Salma Hayek, and I believe Salma Hayek had invested a lot of her own money into that movie to make sure to see it come to fruition. Um,
Oh, okay.
she did a beautiful job, and yeah, it was gorgeous. And that's what I'm constantly trying to do, represent a little bit more about my Hispanic culture. But I always strive for symbolism, and I try not to create. Sometimes just do something for practice, but a lot of my pieces I try to have some sort of meaning behind it and something that to try to touch people at their core. Um, so yeah, and that's what Frida did a wonderful job at.
Yeah. Um, get into shift to kind of another topic, another discussion here, real quick. Um, do you ever follow like the emergence of AI art or anything like that, or do you follow any of that stuff as far as when the discourse comes about like AI art can replace real artists and kind of what they do? Do you ever follow any kind of discourse like that?
I have. I've been hearing a little bit about it. I need to do more research. And I've been hearing about horrible how uh, copyright it is a nasty thing, and hopefully that part gets figured out. But like I tell my friends, this we're artists are constantly having to strive to do better, and I kind of compare it to the invention of the camera. Really threatened artists. Artists strove for such a long time to create realism, and then all of a sudden the camera was invented, and that took away something that so many artists had been trying to do for such a long time. And there was a panic about the invention of the camera, but all it did is it made artists to sit back, reflect, and do better. And that's where you get modern art, where you get the abstract art in the early 1900s, where artists really started to push more and go for deeper and do something that the camera couldn't do. So from what I know of AI, I need to do more research. I think this is a good challenge for us to just push harder. I see for some people, art has become crafty, and it's been simplified. And I think this is a good reason to make people push for more and push for more for me. Do something that the computer or AI can't do, um, or utilize it. But be be aware, but don't be defeated. So that's my perspective so far. What I know on it, I do need to educate myself more on all the capabilities.
Yeah.
And but even with the digital art, I have so many people feel threatened by digital art. But man, it's pretty awesome the things they could do. I used to, I know when I would get commissions from clients, I would have to sit there and paint out all these different ideas for them, and it would take forever. And now I just go on digital art and just kind of play it around. And like, okay, you have these 4 or 5 different examples. You don't like this, swap this out, do it on digital, and then create it on a canvas. And just use that as a tool and use it to better you. So that's my perspective.
Yeah. Do you think, this is kind of a big question, do you think the public interest in art when it comes to like going to an exhibit or seeing paintings, everything like that. Do you think that's kind of decreased over time? There's so much competition for people's attention with everything kind of going on. You mentioned like when you had the exhibit, and this was kind of during COVID, a little bit after that, and then people were eager to kind of go back outside, and that's what kind of allow for record-breaking attendance. So, what's kind of you think is like the general public's thought on just art there, like in an exhibit and paintings and things like that? What do you think is the general public's opinion?
I think art needs to be accessible to everybody. That's why I like Banksy's mentality and a lot of the street artists about bringing art to the people. I do think some some people approach it with a way of too avant-garde or too inclusive, where they don't want to allow people in and have this prestige about it, where it's a secret that people you have to be one of the ones to know to really understand and appreciate. And I'm more of the mentality, let's educate people. Let's get more people out there so they could appreciate it. People are hungry to get out. You know, we have so many things that are bringing us in, streaming and online shopping. That to keep this is a good way to keep people going outside. And as long as we don't make it where people just feel ashamed because they don't understand it, and as long as we're educating, I'm all about it. And I think people are hungry for it, and people still want to get out. Some avenues are being shut, but this could be an opportunity to open that up even more. So,
Mm.
and there's nothing beats seeing a painting on a canvas in person as opposed to digital. I mean, we've all had this idea like the Mona Lisa, and then so many people see it in person, and it's just a totally different feeling, and so many other things. And I think if we keep encouraging people and not shutting them down from that, I think I think it's going to be a beautiful revenue to do.
Mm. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Kind of, I don't want you to talk too much shit here, but are there any big issues like in the art world that you're in? Because you see kind of sometimes there's divisions in every version of art. Like me being a film critic and discussing film and having discussions about what is low art and high art and everything like this. Did you ever see the movie Candyman, the newest one? Did you ever see that?
Long time ago. Oh, the
Uh,
candy newer one?
yes.
No, I haven't. I'm
Oh,
bad. No.
so in that they like one of the main character Yahya Abdul-Mateen in the movie. He's an artist and he's more of like I guess a bougier kind of artist. Like he's putting it in like these big galleries. A lot of these maybe richer people are coming to see his art and everything like that. And it kind of goes away from the mentality that you mentioned of bringing art more to the people because of how accessible it is. So there's that division there of him being black and doing that. And it's like kind of doing that. So what do you think about what are the big kind of like in your art world? What are some kind of things that annoy you the most, or what are some kind of the conversations that kind of circle the most in kind of your art world there?
Um, I mean, I'm lucky. Again, little big town, and there's always small annoyances. In general, though, I'm really lucky that this community is very accepting, which is rare. I'm very fortunate that so many people are accepting, and people understand that we had like the underground artists, and they were cool and they had their niche, and we had the realism artists. And fortunately, from what I've been exposed to, everybody's for the most part seems pretty accepting of each other's, and there's enough space. And I think if people get the mentality that not this what's the uh, feast or famine mentality, and know that if we could just keep the art coming, that's going to help us all grow. It's just not just this one. Nobody comes to a city for just this one artist, or not normally. But when we have a whole place of it and it become a mecca of art, that's what's going to help all of us strive. But yeah, I've come across early on when it was small town and we didn't have as much of the art. I did come across the OG group, and there are some that were that felt what's the word where they felt that they were really good for what they did. And fortunately those guys got drowned out in the noise, and there's a lot more people coming in to push that away and that mentality away. So I'm in a good spot, and where we're at in Waco, that I don't we're not exposed to that. I hear in other areas and bigger cities it does get to be cliquish, but fortunately I don't have to deal with it. And I also run with a whole bunch of people. I run with artists, I run with actors, I run with lawyers, and I've got the whole array of people. So anytime I get tired of one group or any group kind of trips too much, I'm like, go on to the fun other group. Stay away from this.
Very nice.
So,
Yeah.
question, or did I skirt it too much?
Oh no, I thought that was great. I thought yeah, that was very, very diplomatic there, the way you did answer that question.
Oh, on that
Um,
one, diplomacy. Get me a couple.
um, so you say because you've been doing art for, you said 7 years now?
Well, I originally got my degree in art. And not getting too TMI. I got married young. Met my ex when I was 19, and it was a terrible relationship. I hate to abuse this word because it's so popular, but ultimate narcissism. And the entire time, I couldn't create art. It wasn't going to happen. And the minute I left and I was free from that, that's when I get to do the art. So I'm trained in art, but and I've been trained since college, which is a long time ago. But I really just hit my stride as soon as I left 7 years ago.
Yeah. Do you think people need to go to college for art? Do you think they can develop their skills outside of that, or I mean, what do you think is kind of the benefits of going to school for art and then not going to school for art? What do you think?
Benefits are we in all things we could always be shown something that we weren't aware of, and sometimes we get stuck in a block. Like even with me trying to do the Spanish, I could try to train myself all day long, but like my professors, they have shown me things I would have never dreamed of. Would I've had accidentally come across that? Probably, but they're more streamlining it. And same thing with my professors. My art professors, they really helped me streamline it and help encourage me along the way. And instead of trying to stumble across, they help guide my hand. And I'm a personality. I thrive better when I have someone guiding my hand. Do you need to go to college? No. And there's so many platforms and so many resources that we have nowadays that I think if anything, university will help you find the deeper meaning, and maybe like we were talking about earlier, combat the think deeper when it comes to like versus AI, something that maybe AI is not at. AI can get the technique down, but pushing that inner soul, that's something that the professors can help encourage in that respect. But even when I tell people, because I taught art for a little bit, kids have so many tools now. There's so many videos, there's so many how-tos out there. They don't need to learn how to do the basic drawings. They can get that from the videos. They need to learn how to express themselves and what level to do, what representations to go with that. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah, that
So
does make sense.
long story
And
short,
I think I
no.
get, yeah. And then from that, because you also mentioned you were a teacher, and I know, I mean, do you see? I mean, this is, I'm not to get into a too big of a bigger conversation, but you being a teacher, in a school. I mean, what grade do you teach there?
Mainly middle school, eighth grade. Got the
Middle.
same maturity level as them.
So middle school, and it seems like a lot of people are taking away money from a lot of the arts department in schools, in kind of public education there. Do you see that as a big necessity for kids to have that funding for art in school?
Oh gosh, definitely. Just like sports, like people always make the solid argument, especially in Texas for sports. It's a lot of kids go to school and they're just going through the motion and because they have to. And if you're able to find or help someone find that spark and that passion, because yeah, we could learn math and writing and all that, and that'll pay the bills and get you that job. But like I'm telling my kids all the time, you still have to have a passion. You go to work Monday through Friday or whatever your day, you clock in and clock out. But when you come home, if you only live for work, what kind of life is that? And if for certain kids, if we could spark that passion through art, that's the way to go. Just like the kids who enjoy sports, and but we're also multidimensional. We don't know which ones are going to like art. We don't know which ones are the athletes or the musicians, and to totally shut those avenues down, that's scary. But also too, like to force the kids into it, that also could create issues. So, because then when it gets watered down with kids who don't want to be in there, and then kids that want to be in there, oh, public education, that's a whole nother,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother beast right there.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I
Under,
said. Yeah, it's a big topic. Yeah, for sure.
oh yeah,
Uh,
Lordy.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll kind of wrap this up. Do you want to tell people again one more time about yourself, where they can find you, where they can find your art, what's your next big art project that you got coming up next, everything like that?
Yeah, Julie Cervantes, and I'm an acrylic artist and digital artist and a parade organizer and accidental actress now. And yeah, my next biggest projects right now are the Day of the Dead parade and my contrast between life and death series. That as soon as I get to a certain amount, that I'll start reaching out to the bigger galleries and start featuring there. On top of the million and one other things I love to do. um, yeah, I really think it's silly that I need sleep. Can we figure that problem out, please?
You can see you got her. I can pull up your IG right here. It is Cervantes underscore Julie underscore art. And then you can see some of her art right here. You can also, there's a post from her IG. Also, there's Cervantes.org, which you can link on her IG. You can check out her art there as well. Different paintings have up here, different forms, abstract forms. So very nice. All these kind of different paintings that you have there. How much do you charge for a commission?
Oh, commissions are a different beast. It depends on they want realism, do they want abstract, or yeah, that's a different beast. But my average prices for a 24 by 36, again, depending on the amount of detail, it can range anywhere between $800 to $2,000.
Whoa! Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Oh
It
man.
just all depends. And I've only done larger paintings, so these are big ones. Where yeah, I've sent some pieces off to Seattle, to Vegas, and they've always gotten the giant ones that fill up a wall. So those are the normally the $2,000 ones.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Nice. Very good. Thank you, Julie, so much for being on. I'll make sure to put all your links in the description below, and I'll let you know when the video is uploaded. It's going to be uploaded on youtube.com. Just type in the afternoon tune and you'll be able to find us there. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Super. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Take care.